Thank you to all my lovely supporters on Patreon. To hear all the music I make for my channel and covers I do, go to the link in the description to sign up for my Patreon for as little as $1 a month. Hey, what's going on, guys? Christian Hanna Horror here today, and today, guys, I want to talk to you about Poltergeist 2. Now, the reason I want to talk about Poltergeist 2 is because I've kind of been known over the years as like a sequel guy. I like a lot of horror movie sequels. But one movie that I found myself never really bringing up was the legendary Poltergeist 2. Now, the Poltergeist 2 does have to give some credit to the first film, because a lot of things that we love about good sequels we use from Poltergeist. We got the great family returning for this movie, and we all loved and cared about them. As polished and as Spielbergian as some like to think of Poltergeist being, it's still a really well-made, very enjoyable horror movie. And a lot of the things that we loved from that first film were brought over to part 2. The continuation, the next chapter in the lives of these people, what sequels are kind of supposed to be. And Poltergeist 2 kind of takes the story from the first, dials up the horror a little bit more, and goes down to a darker shade of gray. And that's why I think Poltergeist 2, quite honestly, outperforms the first one. Maybe a controversial statement, may not be, but I just can't help the way I feel about this amazing sequel. Poltergeist 2 brings the family to their next chapter, living with the wife's mom because, well, their house is gone and the insurance company does not want to pay for a house that's gone missing. Pretty interesting. One main reason that this horror movie sequel, I think, is absolutely legendary is the amazing performance of Reverend Kane by the late, great Julian Beck. Now, here's a guy that was literally on his deathbed. But Julian Beck came into this movie and gave it every ounce of gusto he had as the Reverend. And his scenes when you first see Carol Ann with him at the shopping center are truly haunting. And then you see him walking up to the house in the pouring rain to come talk to Carol Ann playing on the lawn. And it is truly breathtaking, more so to me than anything in the first movie, because here's a real-life human being that just looks really scary walking up to a small girl in a suburban town. The evil has begun to manifest itself once again, and this time Carol Ann has been communicated through with the use of a toy phone, which was a nice way to brand its own self in this movie, as not to use the TVs from the first one, but still be a thing that we can kind of make sense out of, a toy phone that paranormals can talk through. Poltergeist 2 also introduces new characters that I really thought worked well. A character that comes in to help the family because he knows the horrors that are going to become really makes this film have a nice charm to it, while still keeping this darker shade of gray that we horror fans probably may like more than the first one. The family unit is still together and strong, and just great casting. Like I said, I have to credit the first Poltergeist because the characters from 2 are amazing. The additions that we got, I thought, all really worked well. What makes this film outperform the first to me, as I talked about, was the darker shades of gray. Now we have this Reverend who we find out was a cult leader and put his followers in a tomb for them to die when he thought the world was ending, and when the world didn't end, he refused to let his parishioners out of this tomb, and they all sat in there and died. And they actually talk about this, and it seemed very taboo in a big motion picture like this to talk about cults. That essence really made this film extremely spooky to me, because if you guys know, I've said it before, I've said it again, I love horror movies about cults and demonics and religion. It's always been very scary and interesting to me. Poltergeist 2 rides that line really well. I love that essence of Reverend Kane in this movie. Just more sinister to me than anything in the first movie. Another scene that makes this film just completely be on its own pantheon is the scene where the dad spits out the demon, this horrid, decrepit, blob-looking monstrosity, and then you see that horrifying demon, which I'll show a picture of now, come out of the dad and start making his way to Carol Ann. And the body was incredibly horrifying, with this morbid face and rib cage, and he's wobbling and no legs. Truly something that makes this film absolutely iconic for me. This is where the film really gets scary. Now, when it comes to dream sequences and things that are happening that don't really happen, what I liked about this movie is they had one of those, and they made sure it was a visual special thing. The mom has this dream where she gets pulled into the ground. It looked like something straight out of Creepshow, and you see all the zombies grabbing her and pulling her straight down. Really cool stuff. All in all, I think Poltergeist 2 is a darker shade of gray than the first movie, takes all the elements that we love from the first, i.e. the family and Carol Ann, and moves the story forward while being a little bit more sinister. And for me, I like it more than the first movie. So Poltergeist 2 is a high recommend for me. If you have never seen Poltergeist 2, please make sure you go out and see it now. I think you'll all be pretty surprised how well it holds up, and quite honestly, I like to call Poltergeist 2 the horror fans' Poltergeist. Thank you guys for watching this video. This is Christian Hanna Horror. We'll see you guys next time.